Welcome back to the Bearcast. It's me and Gabe, and we are joined by Mr. Owens. Yeah.
Mr. Owens, that's an official.
Yeah, I know. Wow. I didn't know which one to go with there. But anyways, we're just going to ask some questions about, what do you want to introduce yourself, actually?
Sure. My name is Joshua Owens. I'm a graduate of Willow Spring Schools here and currently in the position of the vocational director. And I've worked on campus. At the end of this year will be 25 years, which seems like a shockingly long time now that I say that out loud. That's a little terrifying.
Yeah. What do you, as vocational director, what do you do?
So the extent of what this position has entailed starting this year, which it's a new position that the school hasn't had in the past, the focus for my role in this school year has been in developing new CTE courses that we plan to add starting next August.
And what would those courses be? What are we looking at?
So how we're looking at implementing 3 new courses in August right now, and we're currently putting together materials and curriculum and staff to support that. And how we arrived at those 3 courses is that we evaluated what courses our students currently have going through South Central Career Center, and then surveyed our students and talked to those students personally in class to get a feel for what additional courses that they would like to have as options in the future. And going through that whole process, there was kind of 3 courses that stood out that of areas of interest that our up and coming student body had. The first of those would be a criminal justice program with an emphasis on law enforcement. The second program is a basic aviation, and the emphasis on that class will be to get your drone certification. And the third program is carpentry. Carpentry is a program that is currently offered through South Central Career Center. However, it's such in high demand and so popular that in the past we have had times where we've had more students that wanted to enroll than what they had facilities to support that. So that is one area that we felt like we could expand on. And that there was that big of a need that our students needed a dedicated class here on campus for that.
So you said that you can get your drone license with the aviation class. Is there any other certification or things you can use in that career field if you're interested?
Absolutely. So the basic aviation class is obviously this next year will be in a developmental stage. The first, what I would call the first objective and the main objective for the first year of that course is for the students to work through and be competent enough that they could, if they choose, that they could take their Part 107C drone certification, which is the commercial license to fly a drone. And if there's enough interest in the student body in that class, we want to continue on with giving them the availability to test into the skills and knowledge side for their personal pilot's license. And the reason that is attractive to me is because about 50 to 60% of the knowledge that you have to pass your drone certification are things that you would have to know to step into your personal pilot's license. So, in my mind, if a student's going to go through the process and do the work to get their drone certification, and they are going to have to already know and go through the process of anywhere from 50 to 60% of the content that they need for the personal pilot's license, if there's enough interest from the students to continue on to that next step, then I want to try to facilitate that.
Yeah, that's really nice. 2 birds with 1 stone, kind of.
Kind of. That is 2 different pathways, and obviously the career choices, kind of stemming off of that, and those pathways are different, but they are tied together really strong. And again, a lot of the basic aviation concepts that you have to know to obtain your 107 license are things that you're going to have to retain as a personal pilot. And so, again, we'll see. That's still in development, and a lot of that will be decided upon the interest of the students, just how much interest they have in proceeding on with that phase of the aviation course.
Were there any other industry recognized credentials like within the cybersecurity or the carpentry class?
Yep. So the 2 other classes there, the criminal justice class and the carpentry class, both have industry recognized credentials. The criminal justice program, one really unique credential that they can achieve at a high school age, and then these courses are designed to facilitate juniors and seniors. One credential that they can get at 18 and is their public safety telecommunication certification. And that's a mouthful, but essentially that enables a student to leave high school that is trained, and you can step into a dispatch job at any agency, which is a great way to segue into law enforcement if you have an interest into that, because there is always available positions in the dispatch end of agencies, and it gives a person kind of a foothold or kind of a starting point in that career. A lot of positions in law enforcement, obviously, you have to be 21 to proceed on, and so that's been one difficult area to try to figure out, essentially how we can get students, if they choose to just step immediately into that career path out of high school, how we can get them into essentially a paid position upon that age, and a lot of students will use that platform, and they will continue on with post-secondary education, stepping into more criminal justice, positions that are available. But the carpentry, the credentials there that we're looking at, one is an OSHA 10 certification, which essentially it is just a safety certification that is industry recognized by unions, by private contractors, stating that you've had 10 hours of safety training on tools and equipment and job sites. The second part of the carpentry class that we're still implementing is a program called Careers Connection. And that program is essentially put in place by the Missouri Carpenters Union. And what they do with that program is we have a certain amount of guidelines that we fall under with the curriculum of that class. And as long as we fall under those guidelines, then actually a union representative will come on campus at the end of a 2-year course, and they will test the student. And if the student performs well enough on those tests, then the union will recognize those 2 years that the high school student put in our program as apprenticeship hours in the union. And essentially what that does is that allows that individual to start at an advanced placement with the union and at an advanced pay scale if they want to essentially start upon graduation.
Are we looking to hopefully add other campuses into this, like West Plains, surrounding schools?
Sure, there's a definite interest into that. So essentially, this next year and potentially the next 2 years, still there's a lot of pieces to put in place. But absolutely, what I hope to do with this availability that we have on campus is not something that's just going to bless Willow Springs. I want to create something that can bless students from our whole area here, our whole community, and that's not, in my way of thinking, that's not a Willow Springs project. That is a South Central Missouri project.
And that makes sense with a lot of our blue collar lifestyles around here. A lot of people around here, you got two options: you go to college more north, or you go work more south.
Sure, yeah, and there's a little bit of a kind of a stigma around CTE programs and students that are involved with CTE programs that I kind of would like to clear up. One is, the majority of the time, a lot of students that look into CTE classes are interested in stepping into the career field, but that is not exclusive by any means. There are a lot of students that use classes in high school, CTE courses, that can gain them a head start or a foothold into post-secondary education at technical schools or at even private schools that are concentrated on that particular career field.
Yeah, so like if we look at other places that do something similar,
sure,
it's usually junior or senior that can do those certain classes. Is the same here as well?
It is, and the reason being is obviously one, as you gentlemen know, the credit requirements to graduate high school, your core classes, we have to establish and make sure that we get those taken care of. And so part of what sets that is to make sure that scheduling wise that we allow enough time for students to get in those core classes that they want. And the other part is that a lot of the credentials that are tied to CTE, which is career technical education courses, they have age requirements that go along with them. So sometimes that credential, that is something that is not set by us, that is set by the industry.
What's the goal in about, like, what do you think this will be in about 10 years?
Wow, good question. I definitely see the whole movement of career and technical education gaining traction. So whenever I was, which has been a long time ago now, but whenever I was in high school, I was a 98 graduate. At that time, definitely the focus was more on the traditional 4-year degree. That was what was pushed more, and there was just a lot of opportunity there. I think that, I think over the last 2, 3, 4 to 5 years, that focus has trended away from that, and I think as a country as a whole, has seen the importance of what I'll call hands-on jobs. And if there was one benefit probably that came out of COVID, I think that it one thing that became very clear was that there is not enough supportive jobs in the hands-on fields to, when it really come down to it, and then you do have a pandemic that essentially shuts down most other businesses. There is just not enough support staff to keep the country running efficiently. So I think in the next 10 years, if it continues to trend like the industry has the last 5, I think you will see more focus from a federal level, from a state level, and then obviously from a student level to explore more CTE or hands-on options for years.
Like maybe nursing classes and things.
100%. And what drives that, obviously, if you're a young person now and you're trying to essentially figure out your pathway in life and looking at different career options, obviously pay scale determines some of that interest. And as it is now, it is amazing how lucrative a lot of those trade worlds are, without having to spend a lot of time or money in a traditional 4-year pathway. And that's not to take away from anyone that wants to focus on a more traditional 4-year college education by any means. But there is a tremendous need in the career tech ed world right now, and the pay scale is I think incredibly attractive for a lot of you.
I feel like here at Willow, we've got a lot of that academic 4-year post-secondary education covered with our dual credit classes, and that's the field that I went through.
Right.
I sat myself down sophomore year and told myself, look, I'm either going to stay here and take my dual credit classes, or I'm going to go to Votech and do the CTE classes.
Yes.
But I wasn't able to do both. And I think bringing these CTE classes here to Willow on campus is going to be really attractive for a lot of the upcoming students and push them more towards the CTE fields. I feel like it's been too long that we've been pushing towards 4-year post-secondary.
Yes. Yep. And another component of that is, the traditional thought of what used to constitute a CTE class 20, 30 years ago, what that looks like today is more advanced. And so the good component of that for a student is there is continually becoming, more and more recognition of those classes at a college level. And that means that now what you're seeing is more CTE classes are counting also as dual credit classes. And that is something that I want to pursue and explore more aggressively in the future. It's amazing now how many universities are recognizing high school level CTE classes with college hours.
So I have another question. I don't know much about this, so I might be like just kind of sound dumb, but
No.
I'm in like wood shop class. What's the difference between that and carpentry? Like,
Okay.
obviously besides the 2-year.
Sure. So obviously wood shop class, the focus on that is to make you first off feel safe and comfortable in a wood shop environment, which is going to involve table saws and chop saws and drill presses and sanders and all the different tools that you'll typically see in that environment. There is a lot of correlation between those. So in a well-run wood shop environment, you're going to have to obviously plan your project, whatever project it is that you're going to be looking at. You're going to have to develop a plan and possibly a drawing or schematic of that. Figure out a materials list. You're going to have to decide in your head, okay, how do I take these rough materials and turn them into this finished project? Carpentry goes along with that at a lot larger scale, and it involves a lot wider array of tools and equipment, and the processes used to get to your finished project is just everything on a larger scale. If that
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there?
I was curious about that too. But I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time.
Anything else?
No, I'm essentially I'm excited for the future of the students here at Willow, and this has been a fun venture this last year to kind of conceptualize and start to put in motion these programs, and I think we'll be proud as a district of what we have available in August.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Just click the off button. You're still recording.